episode 5, Kick It Up. The episode begins with Rocky and CeCe tricking Gunther and Tinka into believing Rocky has the blood of a witch. There's a mystery guest in Shake It Up Chicago to do the spotlight dance of the week. Rocky immediately guesses that it's Kent Boyd from So You Think You Can Dance, and of course she is right.
Hi, I'm Kent Boyd from So You Think You Can Dance.
Kent dances, and immediately when looking at him, I knew I recognized him, but I just convinced myself that it was from remembering him in this episode. That is, until looking at his IMDb, I realized where he was from. He ended up being an actor in the Teen Beach movie, and also apparently has gone on to dance and do choreo for various stars such as Dua Lipa and Billie Eilish. Actually, speaking of Billie Eilish, did you know that part of her hit song Bad Guy actually came from the Wizards theme song?
White shirt, now red, my bloody nose sleeping. You're on your tippy toes.
Justify the means, can fix any problem with the slightest ease. Yes, please. But you might find out it'll go to your head when
After the theme song, we join CeCe and Rocky as they share a sundae on the steps to their apartment complex.
switch.
I guess Flynn has started taking karate. When CeCe tells Rocky, Rocky thinks it'd be a fun idea for the two of them to sign up for a class. But CeCe doesn't take all that much interest in the idea.
Ooh, I've always wanted to try that. We should go take a class. It could be fun. What sounds fun about it? Kicking, screaming, rolling around on the floor. It's like watching my mom report card day.
Flynn breaks what sounds like a vase.
Hey, Cece! Where's the glue gun?
Deuce comes up to Rocky and tells her he wants to set Rocky up on a double date with him and this girl that he likes, with Rocky and the girl's brother, which Deuce knows that Rocky's into. Flynn breaks another vase. Guess George is here for this episode, but she doesn't make an on-screen appearance. Henry arrives back for Flynn's storyline this episode. It isn't all that important, except that it will tie into the end of the episode with Rocky and CeCe. Henry has a bully, and Flynn will take him through the karate class to help him learn to defend himself. That's really all you need to know.
Ow! That was the one place Sally left alone.
Rocky and Deuce are at the movies with their dates. Suddenly, CeCe shows up taking the empty seat next to Rocky's date, Ricky. With CeCe arriving, the best friends basically just start acting obnoxiously as they just talk during the movie, almost completely disregarding Ricky's presence, so much so that the girls decide to add chocolate-covered nuts to the popcorn. Now Ricky can't eat it due to an allergy.
What happens?
I swell up, my face breaks out in hives, and I can't breathe.
Oh. I don't like cilantro.
I actually feel kind of bad for this guy. Deuce does the whole fake yawn cliche as he puts his arm around Ricky's sister Teresa. Ricky tries to do the same thing with Rocky, and the two girls just immediately turn to each other as they burst out into laughter at the poor guy in the middle of what's supposed to be a crowded theater. Deuce gets mad at Rocky and CeCe for their behavior, and Ricky and Teresa just decide to get up and leave. Teresa is silent extra 49. Deuce runs after her.
Excuse me? What, me?
I'm not crying, I have butter and salt in my eyes, so.
What I presume is the next day, Rocky and CeCe sit in the hallways looking through their lunches.
Egg salad on wheat. Peanut butter and jelly on a bagel. Switch.
And we're at silent extra number 50, David Hayden.
Okay, am I crazy or did David Hayden just nod at you? You're not crazy. He asked me out to the movies. Hit me with a raccoon! Hit me with a raccoon!
Deuce comes up to the girls still fuming about the last night. He tells the girls that they spend way too much time together, and he compares them to the behavior of Gunther and Tinka. Rocky doesn't see it,
What's in turnip stew?
I have reindeer and sauerkraut gumbo.
Sweet.
but though she doesn't say anything out loud, we can see as CeCe is a bit concerned. After school, Rocky arrives to the Jones apartment as CeCe is getting ready for her date with David. Rocky asks CeCe what movie they're planning on seeing, and CeCe says it's the same one from the night before. When Rocky doesn't want to sit through it again, CeCe uses the opportunity to tell her that maybe it'd be better if Rocky doesn't go, and that the two get a little bit of distance as maybe they really don't know how to be independent from each other. Rocky doesn't exactly understand as she loves spending time with CeCe,
Isn't the point of having a best friend being able to hang out with your best friend?
but she tries to understand her best friend's wishes as she lets CeCe walk off on her own.
Oh, you can hang with Cece. This is awkward.
In the next scene, we find out that it's been a week, and we get a few scenes of CeCe trying to find other people to talk to and do things with, and how that doesn't seem to be getting her too far.
Hey Miriam, it's Cece. Has it been 2 years already? So, looks like we got a lot to catch up on. How about you say we hang out this afternoon? No, I had no idea you moved to Turkey. Wow, Thanksgiving must be really awesome over there, right? Hello?
She sits outside eating a sundae, but this time all by herself, when suddenly Rocky is too, outside the building, now wearing a karate outfit. She shows CeCe some of her karate moves, but when CeCe tries to suggest that maybe she sign up too, and the two can catch up after the last week, a few of Rocky's new karate friends show up,
I've got blueberry. I got chocolate chip. Oh, sweet.
and CeCe is saddened when she thinks that Rocky hasn't missed her at all. Silent extras 51 and 52, Rocky's new karate friends. Rocky tries to suggest CeCe come by the class, but in trying to save face, CeCe kind of just comes across as really sad and awkward.
Plus, I'm planning a trip to Turkey for Thanksgiving. What? Do they even celebrate Thanksgiving in Turkey? Well, the country's not called Meatloaf, is it? The super cool chick?
So much so that we see for the third time this episode as CeCe goes to the movies, this time with Tinka. Is there just not any other movies that she could have picked to go see at this point?
Whoa. So that's what's inside an eyeball. Yeah, that's what's inside an eyeball.
Tinka expresses her disinterest in CeCe and her hope that CeCe also felt the same. A hope she now believes to be shattered when very quickly Gunther arrives at the movies in the same fashion as CeCe had earlier in the episode. CeCe is upset to see that Gunther had been invited, but she quickly takes interest as she questions Tinka on if she ever gets nervous that her and Gunther spend too much time together, that they don't feel like individuals. But Tinka actually gives CeCe what I think is actually some pretty good advice for this kind of a situation.
We are individuals. We're just individuals together. I can't believe I'm about to say it, but I think I just learned something from you.
Well, it is unfortunate we have done you any good.
This was not our intention.
CeCe ends up leaving the theater, and we see where she shows up to the karate dojo. After running into Rocky, we see as CeCe is trying to apologize when the karate instructor approaches her. It's Gorog! I like to think that his form as the Bellman was inspired by this guy for whatever reason, that Gorog was in Chicago. Silent Extras 53 and 54, Cinder Block Lowerers, and Silent Extra 55, Folga. CeCe gets immediately downed by just head bumping another girl.
She wins.
She ends up apologizing to Rocky and telling her the truth. Rocky obviously forgives her.
So, basically, you've been listening to Deuce, Gunther, and Tinka. Pretty much. Hey, here's an idea for the future. Listen to you. No. Listen to yourself. And, look out. Look out for
her,
what?
and we end the episode with CeCe getting downed by Henry. CeCe quits the karate class. Now, this episode wasn't horrible. I do think it talked about something interesting about what it means to really be independent, and can you spend too much time with someone else that you being your own person. That I like, but I feel like it was just a lot of almost nothing happening. Rocky, CeCe, and Deuce were all acting at least a little bit cringe throughout this one. This was also the very first episode with one of the main cast missing, and I don't know if I missed Ty's presence too much here. Maybe he actually had gone off and started thinking about how he felt towards Tinka. Honestly, with the setup of this episode and his character, I just imagine that if he were to be here, they would have just had him be that when anytime Deuce messed up and upset Teresa during their dates, when she dumped the popcorn on his head or he went screaming and running out of the theater. I just feel like Ty's part of the episode would just be to come in and swoop and steal Deuce's date. I'd say I'm torn between which one I liked least so far, this one or Give It Up. But soon here, we won't have any longer to worry about that distinction, as this next episode is definitely the worst so far. Episode 6, Age It Up.
With an all-new Shake It Up. Hello, baby. Gunther gets school and cool. You doing I? You doing Ape? Not eight, I. Ape. I. Ape. I. And Rocky gets to meet her pop star idol.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Justin.
I need 2 dancers to perform with Justin on the show next week.
How about these two? They look totally cool.
Is this the big break they've been waiting for?
Dancing with Justin will be the first step to me becoming Mrs. Justin Star.
Or a secret too shocking to reveal? Find out on an all-new Shake It Up. On a special night, Thursday at 8/7 Central on Disney Channel.
There's not a single element of this episode that I don't find super cringy, and the main plot I kind of just find to be uncomfortable, as you can get without actually being uncomfortable. So we're almost skipping it over outright altogether. I just want to add in a couple notes and then we'll move on. Okay, so first one. So all of the Disney Channel shows exist in one universe, and as we went over a little bit before, this world is known as Metaverse Prime. Again, thank you, Mr. Nostalgia. Go watch that video if you haven't seen it already. In this episode, it is introduced that in this world, there is a 16-year-old superstar known as Justin Starr. He is basically a Justin Bieber parody. So much so that it is even stated as such on the show's wiki page. And I know aside from him, there are also parodies in the Disney Channel world, such as Ricky Weaver from Kickin' It. Taking into consideration, in the episode before, at the very beginning, the group referenced the real Justin Bieber.
It's Justin Bieber.
Right, it is the great Bieber. You always guess Justin Bieber, and it's never gonna be Justin Bieber. Last week, it was almost a Justin Bieber. No, it was a dancing monkey named the Great Bebo.
And so that means, just casually, in the Disney Channel Metaverse Prime, there's just low-key at least like 3 Justin Biebers. Oh, and don't forget Jesse McCartney being on both Zach and Cody and Hannah Montana. Wasn't he just practically Justin Bieber before Justin Bieber? But they both coexist in our universe already, so I digress. And wait a second. If they have Justin Bieber, does that mean in their world, they might also have where Justin Bieber dated Selena Gomez? And then that ties back practically every Disney Channel's actors' real counterparts into being in this world as well. And like Selena Gomez is for sure in this world because the actor Selena Gomez appears on an episode of Sunny with a Chance. This is really too much for my small brain. The cycle just never seems to end. Also, in that last episode, when Gunther and Tinka suggest to Rocky the idea of Justin Bieber, Rocky does not bat an eye. But when it comes to Justin Starr being mentioned in this episode, Rocky goes ballistic. She's like the biggest fangirl ever. She becomes very scary. Also, Kira from Austin and Ally is in this episode, but as Danielle. And speaking of Austin and Ally, the guy that played Justin Starr, Chris Trousdale, was also in season 4 of that show as one of the guys from Boy NATO. I think he played Rupert, and it's unfortunate because Chris actually passed in 2020. Okay, let's get back on a happy note as we count out all the silent extras from this episode. Silent extras, number 56 through 59, the Spotlight Roller Skaters. Also, Gary Wilde kidnapping.
You're not going to meet anyone if you're locked in the ladies' room.
Silent extra number 60, the janitor. Silent extras 60 through 61, too short. Silent extras 63 and 64, too tall. Ty must really be over his feelings for Tinka if this is how he's encouraging her brother to talk to her.
You wanna go in there? I thought we were going to make a fabric store.
Sorry, T. Had a bag,
Silent extra 65, up, high, down, low. Silent extras 66 and 67, never mind. Silent extra 68, circle girl. Silent extra 69, up, high, down, low, pounded out, explode. Also, Flynn and Deuce were both missing from this episode. Okay, that was longer than it needed to be. Let's just get on to episode 7. This episode opens with Rocky and CeCe doing what else but a dance number. But actually, I will say, I don't know if it's just the creativity of the style of dancing in this one or the setup with them being dressed up as prisoners, but this is my favorite of the dances so far. I like the way it ends. This is just a super fun one. Also, silent extra 70 through 76. I would have said 77, but one of them gets a speaking role in just a moment. Also, at this point, I know I'm just repeating extras from episode to episode, but whatever. To be fair, this isn't even like a super serious segment anyway. This was just like always something fun and silly to do to add a little something to the video. And Rocky over here is one of their co-workers tell Gary that she can't make it to Gary's party tonight, and so CeCe does what she does and makes things happen. The two approach Gary as CeCe asks him about the party. Gary says the girls can come if their parents are cool with it, and the party starts at 10.
Oh, this is gonna be the best out of our lives. Yeah. You know, Gary, let's go.
Also, Gary's unfunny punchline of the episode is constantly insisting that Oprah will be arriving at some point to the party, even though she's always rejected his invitation.
Sorry, Gary, but I'm not gonna make it to your big party tonight.
Oh, you're kidding me. This is going to be my best party ever. Oprah's invited. And there's no way she's going to turn me down 7 years in a row. And don't pass out all the shrimp to the nobodies. Save some for Oprah. Hey, guys, can you fill the ice bucket out there? You know how Oprah loves a cold drink. What? She hasn't said no yet.
The girls try to make a plan so that they can go to the party without worrying about what their parents are going to say. CeCe just plans on not telling her mother anything, while Rocky can sleep over and then Georgia should just be gone all night. Of course, Rocky thinks she's nuts.
Oh, no. No. And if it wasn't clear enough. No.
CeCe gets Deuce and Ty to stay over with Flynn tonight by using blackmail.
Not you and your mom's a picture of you guys on a hijacked golf cart. I'm free tonight. How about you, Ty? Let me check my calendar. Oh, look, tonight just opened up.
The guy stole a golf cart and immediately crashed it. We skip to 7 at night as Georgia enters CeCe's bedroom while her and Rocky are getting ready. And this is a completely different bedroom set, or at least I think it might actually be the same set, just completely remodeled, and now it's much bigger. Instead of the green room we saw back in... The room is now purple. The bed is set up completely different, but I remember these same brick walls from the last room, so I think it's supposed to be that CeCe just gave her room a makeover. And that could have been a fun episode like they did with like Girl Meets World, but unfortunately not. Georgia questions why the girls are already set up to go to bed in their bathrobes and towel-covered hair. To be fair, CeCe does try to tell her mom the truth, but Georgia laughs it all off as a joke and leaves for the night.
Okay, Mom, you caught us. We're not going to bed. Underneath these robes, we're wearing fabulous outfits, and the minute you leave, we're going to a wild adult party. All right, but if you're not home by 3 a.m., you're in big trouble.
Rocky and CeCe reveal their new party looks to each other, and CeCe face plants after trying to walk in her heels.
I think I'm used to them now.
CeCe lets Deuce and Ty into the apartment to watch Flynn for the night, and just like Rocky and CeCe did to them earlier, but for the girls, once getting to Gary's place, it seems that the risk might just be about to reap the reward as Gary compliments the girls on their new looks, and CeCe tries not to fall again. But maybe everything isn't exactly as it all seems when Gary leads Rocky and CeCe to the kitchen and the two realize that they aren't here to be the guests, but instead to serve them. Rocky wants to leave, CeCe though wants to try and make the best of it all. Rocky is about to dip when two waiter boys enter the kitchen. Rocky and CeCe think they're super cute and they're seemingly close enough to being around the girls' age, and so Rocky decides to stay. CeCe purposefully pretends to trip over, which is kind of weird considering her main gag for the episode is how she's wearing these high heels that she can barely walk in, and so they're making her like actually trip over all the time. Oh look, it's Garrett Clayton from Teen Beach.
Get the kitchen sing. Oh, Tanner.
Oh, I had a hamster once named John. He's dead now. But I like the name.
This is how CeCe flirts.
Did you hear that? His name is Xavier. I always name my imaginary boyfriend Xavier.
Wow, after the last episode, I'm shocked she didn't name them all Justin Starr. The guys ask the girls what high school they go to.
Go out! Yeah!
We're in high school too. We go to J. Hughes High. Go Bulldogs!
CeCe lies to the boys when they say they are juniors at their school by saying that they are sophomores. And I don't really know why she felt the need to do that. The guys are still only 2 years older than them, so if they're 13 as freshmen, then these guys would be 15, 16. And I guess it is a bit sketchy, but I mean, I've seen people at high school date before when they're a couple years apart.
Do you have a boyfriend?
No, but not because I can't get one. I've just been waiting for the right guy, and I think he's a junior at Elk Grove High.
Oh, really? What's his name? Maybe I know him.
This guy is surely perfect for CeCe.
Yeah, he's not very smart, but he sure is cute. I dig that.
This comment says a lot. In the B plot, Georgia comes home early from work. I'm only really even mentioning this because it will soon tie into the A plot. Deuce and Ty try to hide from her, which I also don't get. CeCe could have Rocky staying the night while Georgia was supposed to be gone, but Flynn couldn't have the guys come over to watch a movie with them. I get the point that the guys are covering for CeCe and Rocky being gone, but still the only thing I can understand is because CeCe's a girl and they're boys and they'd all be home alone. But they'd all still be there as a pretty big group with how often Georgia's not home throughout other times in the series and everyone is just hanging out anyway. Back to the A plot, CeCe and Rocky are serving some of the prestige at Gary's party. One of the guests tell them that she thinks they're too fun to be working. Silent extra 77 through 80. Prestige party laughers. Should I still be counting it as silent if they laugh? I don't know. I'm gonna still count them. Whatever. Anyway, everyone gets a group photo taken. CeCe asks the photographer a copy, but the guy says that the photo will be included in the newspaper the next day. I'm pretty sure, again, going back to our little conversation about the Chicago crime rates, there are probably more important things to be covered in the news than just some random, millionaire or whatever rich guy's party. I could see that for a magazine, and being Chicago, I'm sure they would have one for that. But it's a big city on a Saturday night. There has to be more than just one party happening right now. Would each of them get an article made about them? CeCe is really excited that everyone else in Chicago would see the picture and know they were at the coolest party. Again, there's gotta be other parties. But when Rocky reminds CeCe that their mothers are going to see it and realize they'd snuck out,
They're gonna be so proud.
it takes CeCe a moment.
And then they're going to kill us.
She still catches up faster than London Tipton.
Huh?
Honestly, do you kind of think that the punishment would be kind of worth it? I don't know, but if what we know about Georgia or what we come to learn about Rocky's mom later, I don't think I could see either of them making Rocky or CeCe leave the show over something like this, with them knowing how important being on it is to the both of them. Georgia catches Deuce and Ty. The girls are suddenly back to working in the kitchen as Rocky freaks out on CeCe for influencing her again. She says that now all of a sudden, because her mothers are going to find out, that the event has now gone from
Oh my gosh, this night couldn't get any better.
all the way to the opposite side of the spectrum, and now
It's the worst night of my life.
I just love how back and forth Rocky is throughout the entire show about if the shenanigans CeCe gets them into are actually life-changing, amazing events that they're definitely usually pretty crazy but end up creating the best opportunities for them, or if Rocky just thinks CeCe's just completely reckless and risky and doesn't think of any of the consequences. I feel like it jumps from episode to episode, or even sometimes just scene to scene within the same episodes. Listen to this plan and how optimistic CeCe is about it, and the fact that she thinks they can actually pull this off.
We wake up very early in the morning, go to everyone's front door, steal their newspaper. After that, we go to every newsstand in the entire city, buy up the rest, and then after that, all we have to do is just figure out a way to crash the newspaper's website and we're home free!
Again, CeCe and Rocky only make $80 together a week. I don't know how long it's been since the Meatball episode in Universe, so I don't know how much exactly they've saved back up, but I'm gonna doubt that they would have enough to buy out all the newspapers, even if this was actually physically possible for them to even attempt. Rocky comes to a more probable idea.
I can just distract the camera guy while you delete the photos from his camera. I don't know, it sounds complicated.
Georgia forces all the guys to keep drinking water until they're both ready to spill the tea, the truth, but also into their pants. I don't know exactly what to call this, but just that with her still wearing her police uniform, it still feels weird, like some cruel and unusual punishment. The looks on their faces, this whole scene makes me a little uncomfortable with just how cringy it is. But I mean, I guess I gotta give them credit for being solid friends to go through all of this just to avoid giving the girls up. Flynn pisses himself. Okay, maybe the show is more gross than I remembered. Honestly, I was expecting Deuce to be the one to break first, but Ty does and drags him into the bathroom with him. Okay, they weren't tied together or anything, just Ty drags him along. Rocky blasts the photographer in the face with a can of whipped cream. Twice. And everyone just just watches her do it the second time. Gary at least, though, comes over to help the guy, giving Rocky a look as she just tries to dismiss it as being an accident due to the canister, and Gary escorts the man to go get himself cleaned up. Gary eats whipped cream off this man's face. CeCe somehow immediately is able to operate this camera as she finds and deletes the picture after being threatened by Rocky and her whipped cream. But it unfortunately would be in vain, as immediately after this we get to see that Georgia, I guess, looked into the system to find Gary's address as she's arrived to bust them. Georgia comes down on Gary about just how completely inappropriate it is that the girls are as young as they are and out as late as it is. Thankfully though, being a Disney Channel show,
Watching Disney Channel.
this party is much more appropriate itself than it would have been in real life, so she doesn't have any qualms there. But in doing this, she reveals the girls' real ages to the cute waiters from earlier who stand just behind Gary. Apparently they were all going to go on a date. Now they are not.
Oh, sure. I'm free.
Georgia grounds CeCe for 2 months.
1 month if you bring home some of that pudding.
As she escorts them out, we find out that she brought Flynn with her, and now Flynn's just being eaten up by the party guests from earlier.
Babe, let's cut to the chase. You, me, tomorrow, tetherball. I'm there. Of course you are.
He sure is a little stud, man. I guess as part of their punishment, Georgia has all the kids completely scrubbing down the kitchen from top to bottom. Honestly, this is what Gary deserves after all the times he's tried to uncomfortably flirt with her so far. And that was episode 7. Before rewatching this episode, I remembered that the girls would end up at a party and the outfits and the hair, but I couldn't remember any of the context. I think I thought it was going to be more fun than it actually was. Not a bad episode, just very typical Disney Channel, and for this kind of a premise. I like that all the plots decently converged, even if I didn't like the direction that the B plot took. Oh, and Gunther and Tinka were completely absent from this episode. On to the next. Episode 8, Hook It Up. The episode begins as a less impressive homage to, I guess, Stomp. A fun concept, but it isn't taken all that far as it ends pretty quickly on a very lackluster note. His sister and friends actually believe that he called the cops on them. I get this guy. Also Silent Extra 81, Stomp Drums guy. This is the cold open. Flynn eats the rest of Rocky and CeCe's sandwich. We just love how half the time the opening jokes of the episode don't relate to literally anything else that happens in it. They just obviously needed to fill some dead airtime. Which sucks, because I actually think they could have done a whole episode with this kind of concept. It would have paired well with the concept of the show overall and would have really been interesting if it was kept mainly silent. But alas, this is not the case, as after the theme we cut to Rocky and CeCe entering into the halls of John Hughes High School when they are met by a large crowd of students who cheer for them. There's a lot of them here, so I'll go ahead and count them as silent extras 82 to 101. Hallway cheerers. CeCe and Rocky assume that the reaction they're receiving is due to people seeing them dance on TV. And like, you guys have been on the show for how long at this point? Months have gone by, so they maybe should find this to be a little bit more weird if that were the case. But being typical 13-year-olds, they don't really think to question any further as they just rake in the attention. The very temporary attention as the people cheer for them. Rocky does a little wave, and they almost immediately disperse. But Deuce approaches them at their lockers holding a camera. He tells the girls he's making a documentary about them. So is that supposed to be what all the attention was for? Because it's not like Deuce is even super popular or anything. And that's a pretty interesting thing, isn't it? The show seems to want to both portray the kids as decently liked and popular, whether for the case of Rocky and CeCe, whether it's for being on TV or not, we don't really know. Gunther and Tinka aren't immediately cool for being on the same show, but they also seem to be saying that's the case because Gunther and Tinka are just
Too weird.
Can't argue with that one.
But they also have times where they want to show the girls to be more so of the unpopular loser kids. Like I think a good example would be in Kick It Up, how CeCe had one of the cutest guys in their whole class seemingly interested in her enough to ask her on a date. But then later we hear that the guy didn't even like her, and then when she and Rocky took a break, she didn't have any other friends to hang out with. Anyway, we see Ty on a monitor in the halls where he's doing some morning announcement. And we find out here that yes, it actually was that the girls were getting the attention just for being on TV. And like again, at this point, Rocky and CeCe have been on Shake It Up Chicago for a month. Don't the episodes run live? They already were in a very large charity event special that they won even. So why is it that now everyone's acting like this is all new information? Like the pilot was just the last episode. Now I know in a lot of cases with Disney Plus that some of the show's episodes are like seriously out of order when streaming compared to how they aired during their run. But when I went ahead and looked this up to double check, every other source I found has the same dates and the order as it is on Disney Plus as being correct. So all of this just doesn't really make any sense. CeCe paid Ty to shout them out. Or maybe he was always going to shout them out, but she paid him to call her unbelievably talented. The school serves fried seahorse.
Bon appetit.
Now, a group of the cool kids approach the girls, a group that we have thus far never seen before. And again, this episode really wants to say that CeCe and Rocky have been super unpopular this whole time. The popular kids invite CeCe and Rocky to join the group and sit with them at lunch, to which CeCe wants to agree, but Rocky wants to object because before they were on TV, these same people wouldn't think twice to give either of them the time of day whatsoever. It's Asher from Geek Charming, but this time his name is Joshua, though he's seemingly playing almost the exact same character. Silent Extras 102 through 105, Popular Posse. CeCe and Rocky slap each other to promise that they won't give in to their newfound fame and become monster divas.
Sometimes I miss the pinky swear.
In the B-plot, we see Ty and Flynn are Ty dances for another random girl, Silent Extra 106, Cute Girl Ty dances for number 1. Where do I feel like I've seen this before and forgot to count it? This whole B-plot is about Flynn having a crush on a girl and Ty trying to teach him some dance moves to impress her. Which is interesting because Flynn will now go on to be a pretty decent dancer throughout the rest of the show, but here he thinks of himself as completely worthless. Back to the A-plot. CeCe and Rocky are rehearsing on the stage with Gunther and Tinka. Yeah, this episode definitely feels like it was supposed to come out way earlier. My guess, it would have fit better as like episode 3. Rocky and CeCe are upset by how they've been shoved so far into the back of the stage and the routine. You mean the background? At this point in the show, this doesn't really make any sense because they've already been given so much more spotlight in previous dance numbers. I mean, in the very first episode, Gunther and Tinka actually did stay in the background for their first number. Remember, because they tried out and were hired to be background dancers. But for some reason, Rocky was supposed to be towards the front of the stage to begin with during that performance. And then she pulled CeCe to dance with her. And really, anytime we've seen them dancing since, up until now, they've never really been all that much in the background. Even though technically I'm pretty sure that it's still supposed to be their job that they knew they were getting into.
Pick it up Chicago, auditions on the 10th, looking for teen background dancers 13 and up.
If they really want to go and be upset about anything. Also, the guy next to them a couple episodes ago got the spotlight dance already, and now he's just pushed back here as well. Also, in universe, the girls were picked to perform with essentially Justin Bieber a couple episodes ago. But like, if we try to go ahead and erase all of that for a second and just try to view this as one of CeCe and Rocky's first performances on the show, this is what all those kids were so hyped up about before. I mean, I get it. It is still pretty cool to be on a dance show no matter what you're doing. You are still on TV. But to me, the only way that I can justify any of this as to make a single lick of sense for me would be because of this guy, Adam, from the iconic episode of iCarly, I Start a Fan War. It seems that today, Gary isn't the one controlling anything. Gary Wilde isn't here. So instead, we get this guy, Eddie, who seems to be the one taking charge. We've never seen him before. The wiki says that he's also appeared in the episode Meatball It Up, episode 2. I went back and checked. And did he show up for even a second? No. So that's just a bold-faced lie. He'll never show up again after this. But for this episode, he seems to hold the role as the episode's main antagonist, as CeCe and Rocky approach him to try to talk about their part of the performance, and he comes across as a complete jerk, basically just telling the girls how much more important himself and the lead dancers are compared to them, going as far as to give all the background dancers the nickname of the rear ends. CeCe and Rocky are just now learning that while the other dancers get dressing rooms to change in between numbers, they just get hooks for all of their belongings. Couldn't that be some kind of violation, being that we're beginning to get to where all the different dances sometimes include like costume changes, like this jail-inspired number that opened the last episode? Okay, to be fair, they actually do mention this as an issue, but the resolution isn't what I was hoping for.
What if we have to change clothes when boys are around?
Oh, come on. We're dancers. There's no shame here. Our bodies are our instruments.
Yeah, well, my banjo prefers to stay in its case.
These are all minors with adults working on set. No, don't like this at all. Ew-wee. I think Carly got really lucky with him, that things didn't work out. Gary's back, and now he too acts like he's so much better than them, as now he too even calls them by their horrid nickname.
Of course. I always have time to listen to my little rear ends.
And oh yeah, the lead dancers have a nickname too, but they think that makes them so cool. The Wild Things. But based on the show's host, I'm guessing Gary named them this himself, so they'd be the Wild Things. He looks absolutely terrified when CeCe and Rocky show him what they're supposed to be doing during the performance. Like he didn't even know until right now. Again, everyone with me. What exactly is Gary Wilde's position on this show? Now suddenly Gary doesn't even remember either of the girls' names.
Look, Coco, Ricky, I like you. If I didn't, I wouldn't have even bothered to remember your names.
Completely.
You didn't. It's CeCe and Rocky.
I don't think so.
Dude, you were just at CeCe's house like yesterday. Oh, and now Deuce is here recording all of this. Deuce overhears a conversation between Gary and I guess some kind of higher up.
Can't afford this many people, Gary. You have to get rid of 2. Well, it's not a very difficult decision. I mean, you know what they say. Last hired, first fired.
Gary is told that they can't afford the number of dancers that they have, which I guess makes sense being as CeCe was one more than they intended to hire, but I guess now they are losing money, and so Gary is told he has to let 2 go. Gary explicitly says that the last to be hired makes sense to be the first to go, and so Deuce pans over to Rocky and CeCe to confirm what we as the audience already have pieced together.
Doo-doo.
Stu shows the girls the video.
What? Last hired, first fired? We were the last hired. Well, technically, you were the last hired. What?
Yes, CeCe, you were. Did you somehow already forget the spotlight incident? CeCe and Rocky bought a small bribe in the form of a small box chocolate cake. Before they can give it to him, though, Gunther and Tinka have brought a large vanilla sheet cake with Gary's face painted on it. Gary apparently forgot their names, too.
Thanks for stopping, Twinkie. Actually, I'm Gunther.
And I'm Tinka.
Und wir sind Helfers. I don't think so.
Though that would honestly still make sense even now. Gunther and Tinka are huge butt kissers.
We always kiss Tushy.
We have a saying in our country. You can't get to the top unless you kiss the bottom.
But when the group overhears that Gary's cleaners are out, the two offer to clean Gary's dressing room. CeCe and Rocky, also wanting to impress Gary into keeping them around, offer to clean the dance floor.
What, we are go-getters too? We'll clean out the schmutz? Whatever schmutz is.
Gary pats Rocky like a dog. Gary Wilde just really sucks. We find out that the girl that Flynn has a thing for is Paisley from Ant Farm.
Yeah, Lester Grammer! That's the goodest idea I ever hear.
Ty immediately wants to make a move on her. He's back to being a pretty horrible friend. Flynn somehow manages to get the girl, even though just a second ago she wanted nothing to do with him.
Last thing I need is some little kid fucking.
But he pretends to be supportive and she's putty in his hand.
Tell me more. Really? Okay, well, go on.
CeCe and Rocky clean the dance floor with toothbrushes. Considering they don't know where to find cleaning supplies, I'm gonna go ahead and guess that these are their own toothbrushes, so, ew. But Tinka is nice enough to at least throw them a can of floor wax, and so Rocky uses CeCe like a sponge as she drags her by the legs all over the dance floor. Oh, so that's why she would just keep getting dumber and dumber.
This plan wasn't very well thought out. Actually, I think the plan's going very well.
This looks fun, but again, I just end up throwing up everywhere.
You know what else is coming right up? You're enjoying this little, aren't you? I'm enjoying it a lot.
I don't feel like this would even do all that much. Except, it does. But not in the good way.
Anyone ever tell you don't wax a dance floor?
Hey, my dressing room looks...
Hey, my dressing room looks...
Yet again, we have a conversation between Rocky and CeCe where we're focusing on how good it is that CeCe is the one that makes things happen for the two.
I knew I'd blow it for us. I always blow it for us, don't I? No, I mean, most of the time you're the one who makes things happen. No, I don't. Who got us on the show in the first place? That would be me.
Until it's not so good.
And who got us kicked off the show? That would be me. See? You always make things happen.
But then again, the message is a little confused as immediately Rocky wants to know what plan CeCe has to be able to save them.
What's your plan? Well, I don't have a plan. Oh, come on, you always have a plan. I do have an idea.
And we find out that she does. And it does work. But I think this one works just a little too easily. It's such a mediocre idea that if anyone were to just object to and try to stop it, it would fall through. But for whatever reason, everyone just accepts it as CeCe and Rocky move to the front of the stage. They do their own leading routine. Deuce hacks into the building's wiring as he projects the two's face into the dance floor. And everyone else just moves to the back of the dance floor with Gunther and Tinka as they all now act as background doo-doo dancers. Also, silent extras 106 through 112. The Wild Things plus one rear end guy here next to Gunther plus Tinka. I'm not going to do the guy on the other side of CeCe and Rocky because I know I already did earlier when he was given his own spotlight dance in an earlier episode. Also, there's 6 of them in the background here in total. Gary only wanted to hire 6 background dancers. But then he kept CeCe around after, so was there still another person, or did they end up getting booted to make room for CeCe? Silent extra number 113, random girl next to Gary for some reason. Is she the extra dancer, or just some random girl? Gary makes it sound like he's going to fire CeCe and Rocky in a classic misdirection.
Who knows, perhaps we'll have more surprises. Or less dancers.
When we find out, instead, that he had fired his own personal assistants. He gives them another warning, even though he already warned them once in the pilot about being fired if they pulled something like this.
Pull something like that again, and you are off the show. Step out of line again, and you'll be joining the cream cheese guy.
But he must have just forgotten, just like everything else that's happened outside of this episode. Rocky and CeCe end up back in the background, but no longer doing the doo-doo routine. And after this, Gary must have decided to restructure everything anyways, as they'll never be in the background again. Really, from now on, background dancers like this won't even really be a thing at all. If someone's not in the current routine, they just stand and watch off to the side. Ty again tries to steal Flynn's girl, and so Flynn pretends to hurt himself. And that was it for episode 8! Not a bad episode, just not good for where it was placed within the season. Just brought up a lot of plot holes that binging it like this made pretty hard to miss. And aside from the one scene of the misunderstanding, Just making a documentary about the girls would end up being completely wasted. Again, a great idea if it would have been the sole focus of the episode, and I'd say the same for the sudden involvement of the popular kids taking interest in them. Hopefully, the next episode would bring us back up to speed with the current timeline of the previous episodes.
Hey everyone, with all the info on all things Disney 365 days a year, I'm Brian at Marvel Entertainment Headquarters in New York City, along with Adam Irigoyen from Shake It Up, and we're here to show you how to create your own Marvel superhero comic. Let's get started.
So this is how I draw Thor.
We're here with Joe Quesada, the Chief Creative Officer of Marvel.
Man, this is awesome.
Where Adam got to watch Thor from the Avengers being created and gets to make his own comic too, with the comic creator. That's part of Disney.com/create.
So Adam, let me show you how the comic creator works, and actually how easy it works. So we'll go here to background. Boom. So there's my cityscape, right? Now I'm going to select Iron Man.
How close is the comic creator to real-life comic creating?
It's very, very similar, except it's actually easier because you get all the tools and they're just placed there on the website for you. What kind of hobbies you got, Adam? What do you like to do? Play sports?
Oh yeah, I like to play basketball.
We could say Adam's playing basketball. It provides you with the actual page, the panels. It gives you characters that you can put into the panels, backgrounds that you could layer in there, as well as word balloons so you could write your own stories. And the other thing that's really cool is that there's a handy art tool, a pencil tool there where you can actually draw if you wanted to draw your own characters.
And once you're done with your comic, you can save and share it on Disney.com/create. Now, using the superhero quality of seeing in the future, what's coming up on Shake It Up?
Well, there's definitely a lot of dancing, a lot of dance crews come on. It's gonna be hilarious, so you're gonna have to watch and see. This baby, she's a checkmate. So all this superhero talk makes me want to do a superhero Disney 365 sign-off.
You got it. I'm Brian.
And I'm Adam.
And this is Disney 365.